Yeah. Press on. I don't know if he's just going to use the bathroom or if there's a call in there. But I'm going to find out. I'll go ask that officer. Oh, that's Sergeant Del Rue, I think. How's it going, Salgado?
Hey, pretty good, man. How you doing?
Really well. I haven't really ever talked to you before. I've met you, though.
Yeah, we met.
Once. I'm trying to remember what it was that I learned. Oh, you were carrying the long gun on that night with the gunplay.
Yeah.
Yes, that was you, right? But we couldn't really talk. Yeah. All right. Alvitore-Barrone, 8738. Did I say that right?
What's up? Come here this way.
Why this way? Am I detained?
I'm about to walk and we're talking.
Oh, all right. I thought I was detained there for a second, man.
You wanted to walk, so I was...
Hey, you got to be careful of your authority, man. It's powerful. When you tell somebody to do something, we're supposed to listen, right? You want people to listen, so you got to be really soft with your, directives. If they're not like they don't, you got a gun, right? Like you got that uniform, If you want me to listen to you in the future, if you give me a real order, I got to be able to tell the difference.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I was just saying, let's walk.
Yeah, if you got to walk. So, but did I say that right?
Alvitore-Barrone.
Alvitore-Barrone.
There you go, man.
Yo tengo poder.
There you go. What's your name?
You wish. It's not nice to call people names.
Well, I'm asking, what's your name?
I know, it's not nice to call people names. Haven't you ever heard that?
All right. Well, I was just going to say, nice meeting you, sir, but if you don't want to tell me your name, that's fine.
Well, you're missing the point, right? You just shrugged that off. See, you have a name, right? And I'm saying it's not nice to call people names, but yet I'm calling you names, right? Why is that okay? What's the difference between you and me?
You tell me, man.
You don't know?
No, that's for you to tell me.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think you have rights? You do?
Yeah, we all have rights.
Oh my God. Alvitore-Barrone. What rights do you have right now? Tell me one right that you have.
I have the same rights you have.
Just name one.
Same rights
Any
you have.
one. Name one.
Same rights you have.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, do I have to wear a uniform right now?
You don't have to.
But you do?
Yeah.
And you think we're the same?
Do you have a job?
Well, that would be commerce if I did, right?
I'm asking if you have a job.
Well,
If you had a job,
The
you
question
probably have
is-
to wear the uniform that you...
the question is, am I working right now at this very moment?
Right.
Right? And I'm not.
You're very good at avoiding questions.
Well, the thing is that, I have the First Amendment right to not make speech,
Right.
right? But you're required to tell me your name and your badge number if asked, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have the First Amendment right not to make speech,
Fair enough.
right? And you have to wear that uniform, which is freedom of expression, free speech again,
Right.
right? And anybody that's doing commerce could be required to wear a uniform.
So, are you going to tell me your name?
It's not nice to call people names, but you're not one of the
I just
people.
think that man to man, they should introduce themselves before they have conversations. If I don't know your name, you can't respect that,
You can't respect that, but it's your policy to respect everybody.
No, I respect you, yes. I just can't respect the fact that you won't tell me your name and you want to have conversation, a personal conversation, right?
No, I'm having your personal, but I'm private. See, I'm one of the people, and you're not.
Got it.
Do you think you're one of the people? Aren't you a servant of the people?
I just have a job for 10 hours a day, and then I'm with the people.
I'm really being genuine here, okay? I'm not trying to be a
I
smartass
gotta go
with
back to
you.
work. It was nice meeting you, man.
Aren't you at work? So, do you have the freedom of press right now? The freedom of press, do you have that?
Explain it to me.
Well, let's say that you are doing an open investigation for a murder or rape or something like that, right? Do you get to go and disclose details about that? An unopened investigation? Right. But if I find out that information, I could, right?
Yeah, but it's the same thing. If you had a job, you'd have to work under your job's guidelines, right?
Correct. Whenever you have a job, you're doing commerce.
Right.
And when you're doing commerce, you have traded your rights for privileges or immunities.
It seems like you're just trying to get out.
Does that make sense?
I don't understand your point.
My point is that you don't have any rights, and you're not one of the people. Alvitore-Barrone. He's not the brightest star in the sky. He has a very short attention span. Hey, are you familiar with Texas Penal Code 3802?
What is it, man?
You don't know?
I'm asking you what it is.
It's when somebody's required to give their name, birth date in the state of Texas to a police officer. When would I be required to give you my name and my birth date?
Go ahead and tell me.
You don't know? What is your problem? This code, you have to use it every day. Every time you ask somebody for their ID, you're using this code.
Educate me.
Do I look like your teacher? I want to know if you know. It's a one-word answer. At what time is somebody required to identify themselves to you?
Educate me.
You don't know? Have you ever asked somebody for their ID?
Go ahead, educate me.
Have you ever charged somebody with failure to ID?
Educate me.
How can I educate you?
Give me the answer.
No, I want to know if you know the answer.
Required to identify when they're under arrest. You're not required to identify if you're detained, but if you lie while you're detained or under arrest, then it's a violation.
And if you lie if you're a witness too, that's also failure to ID. But you don't have to give your name if you're a witness.
Right, you don't have to.
Thank you. You saved his butt.
Sure did.
What you just floated through the academy or what? Is that what you said to everybody? Give me the answer. Did you look over at your neighbor and cheat?
Every time I try to give you an answer, man, it seems like you know more about
You've
the
never
topic than I
given me
do.
one answer yet.
Exactly. I'm just going to let you talk. Freedom of speech, right?
I have freedom of speech, but I also have the freedom of not to make speech. But Salgado knows the answer. He's a star. You studied. You paid attention. So you've never charged anybody with failure to ID? You have. But they were under lawful arrest. Because you didn't say lawful arrest.
Right, but they were under arrest or they were detained and they lied.
Oh, okay.
Lawfully detained or under arrest.
All right. But, I mean, you could say somebody's detained, but it wasn't lawful. That could theoretically happen, right?
Yes, but mine were lawful.
I'm not doubting you. You know the code, so I'm going to believe that you know what lawful means, right? Because I've heard a lot of officers say something like this. You're suspicious, and I'm going to detain you because you're acting suspicious. But that wouldn't be lawful, right?
Well, it depends on what they mean by that. So to have a detention on somebody, you need reasonable suspicion.
Of a crime.
Right. And so there's a Supreme Court case, Hogue versus State. You look it up.
What is it?
Hogue versus State.
Hope versus state.
There's a three-pronged test for determining if you have reasonable suspicion. One, you have to have suspicious activity, something out of the ordinary. You have to be able to connect that to a person, and all that has to be connected to a possible crime.
To a possible crime.
It's a three-pronged
But you
test.
do have to have a crime in mind. Not just
Potentially.
not just like, well, this could be a crime, but we don't know what crime. Right? You have to have a specific crime that you have in mind. At least one. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. You're a star. That's why you had the long gun. That's why they trusted you with that. Because not everybody had the long gun, man. Are you on the SWAT team or what?
No, I'm not.
Well, you're on a special team, or I mean,
We have
everybody's issued those guns, I guess,
no,
right?
we have rifle handlers on the department that are not part of the specialized unit. So you could be on patrol and have a patrol rifle, but there's a class that you got to go through. You got to go through a rifle school.
All right. Well, since we're talking about that night, that sidewalk wasn't closed, was it?
Not the sidewalk, but the parking lot was.
So, and I was asking if I could walk by you because you know, I have a lot of respect for you guys, right? And there was a lot of you, and I didn't know if the sidewalk was closed. And I wanted to walk through and film the horse patrol, but not in the parking lot. And I couldn't get a direct answer from you whether the sidewalk was closed, remember?
So at first, yes, it was closed. Once we determined that whatever we were looking for was a little further in, and we started allowing people to get on the sidewalk. So it wasn't a set in stone right off the bat. It was just, we don't know what we have, so we want to expand our area, and then we can start letting people through as needed.
Sure.
But in that moment, we were told to...
You were told to close the sidewalk? All right, because you had your cars there. I really didn't know if it was or not, you know?
Yeah, it was temporarily.
Okay. All right. That's fine. My understanding was, like, you guys were looking for a gun that maybe you had hidden in that parking lot. Is that what you guys were doing?
I don't remember the details, but...
You don't? Okay, because it looked like people were looking under cars. And
it could have been. I've been a lot of calls since that, so I don't remember the details.
You guys must be having a lot of action, man. That would seem like an event that I would remember. You know what I mean? Because I film you guys a lot. That's the only one where I've seen where, like, a real crime is going on. Well, there was an assault. Only one. One extra safety line. Yeah. So the thing is that I'm not being disrespectful, but that's a lie that we've been told, that a name is respect. A name is very hurtful. Okay? And I'll tell you why. Because, see, you've been named. Have you ever heard that phrase? You've been named. All right, well, let's say that you sold me a car. We wrote a contract for that sale. And in that contract, we called that car a boat. Okay? And on paper, we just changed that car to a boat. But in real life, we didn't change it. Right? But now 50 years later, we're dead, and our kids are trying to sort out this contract. Okay? And they see that you sold me a boat. And they're looking everywhere for this damn boat. And they can't find it because it's a boat that doesn't float, and they've got it in their head of what a boat looks like, right? And see, with a simple name, we can change something into what it is, into something that it is not. So, for example, what is a Salgado?
Salgado is Portuguese for salty.
So, are you a salty?
Possibly.
Well, you might be salty, but are you a salty?
Well,
right? Is that what you are?
No, salty is an adjective, not a noun.
Yes, but when you ask somebody to identify, then you're asking them to say what they are. Right?
No, you're asking them what they go by.
Well, not when you use the word identify. You're asking them to identify as something. Right? So you could say, you are a police officer. That would be an identity statement. Or you could say, you do police work, which would not be an identity statement. Right? When you identify, then what happens is that if for some reason, like if you identify as a police officer, and then one day you're unable to be a police officer anymore, it could be very traumatic for you and cause what's called cognitive dissonance. And it puts people in the fetal position in the straitjacket, right? Like sometimes a woman might say, I'm a housewife, or I'm a wife, right? And then their husband leaves them, and then they're curled up in a ball, and they don't know how to go on any longer because their identity has been taken from them. Right?
Yeah,
right? So I don't identify with what somebody has called me. You can call me whatever you want, just not late for dinner, but it doesn't change what I am. Right? I am what I am, and there is not any name that can describe it. Hell no, he just explained to you that I don't have to legally identify until I've been lawfully arrested. I would give you my name and my birth date and my address, but I wouldn't consider it an identity statement, but as far as legally speaking, it would be called my identity, and the court would call me by that, right? And they would say, you are this, but that's a bunch of nonsense because the court wouldn't call me. I'm not in court. The people are never in court. There's no people allowed in court. Only persons are allowed in court. So when I say it's not nice to call people names, but yet I can call you by your name and not be breaking that rule, it's because you're not one of the people. You're a servant of the people. You are a person. And persons have personal information. So it's not nice to call people names, but it's more personal to get a name, right? But you and I are not exactly the same, right? Because you're under oath. You took an oath to protect my rights. I didn't take an oath to protect your rights. You see? So you traded in your rights for privileges, immunities, and duties, which is a very commendable thing to do, which is why we're supposed to respect police officers. But when police officers get the idea, like Alvitore-Barrone over here thinks that he has rights and privileges at the same time, that's called taking liberties while privileging. It's a lot like being drunk and driving, because it's too much, right? Neither one of you are at liberty right now, right? You heard that term, at liberty? Right? You're not at liberty. So that means you don't have rights. See, but you have privileges. And some of those privileges are greater than my rights. And that's fine. Badges grant privileges. That's a fact. It's supposed to be that way. But they come at a cost of your rights. Even when you retire because you took an oath, your rights will never be fully restored. There's always going to be things that you cannot talk about. Right? Victim information, open investigations, policy maybe, or tactics that you learned, right? You don't get to go write a tell-all book. Even when you retire, you have to ask permission before you write that book, right? And that's because your rights are not, they're not there anymore. But like, if you work at 7-Eleven, when you're not working, you have all your rights back. But when you're at work, your boss can tell you how to dress. So that means you don't have freedom of expression, right? But that's called commerce, right? And whenever you're doing commerce, you don't have rights. Make sense? It does? Yeah, so you see the Constitution, it defined a couple of characters, okay? Now, we're all three of us are human beings, right? We're all human beings. All three of us are human beings. Well, maybe you don't consider yourself a human being, I don't know. All right, forget human beings. But the Constitution doesn't say the word human being. It says the word people, person. No, you're not people. The Constitution says you're not people. It says you're person. Yes. Which is why you have an all capital letter name. You have identified. You signed when you agreed to be a police officer.
You said you don't have to identify as anything, right? Why do I have to?
Because you've been entitled. What's the title? Well, houses, boats, cars, they have titles, right? When a house gets entitled, it means it receives a title. And a title is a deed, a bill, proof of ownership. Okay, titles are in all capital letters. Press on.
Awesome.
Master by the name of Bates, smoking more than all 50 states combined. Yeah, right, I gotta stay on the grind. I got no money, so my weed's on my mind. I hit the club, but you know I can't dance. 7 and 7 in my cutoff chance. Tie that shirt in my long ass hair. What part of how I look makes you think I care?